Let's try that now. Is it working now? Oh my goodness gracious. This is what happens. This is why I'm not allowed to do things online. So let me reset and start over since like the first 45 seconds of that was all not happening. Shout out to Valerie for helping me with that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry, we fixed it. This is why I'm not allowed to do any of this stuff by myself, right? This is why I should have had team do it, but I digress. Okay, we figured it out. So when we are in the right energy, when we're in the right frequency, when we're in the right frame of mind and reference, hi, what we need to do is focus on what's our energy, our frequency, and our vibration. So right now, I did more than 15 calls with different coaches that aren't my clients because they were having a nervous breakdown because they're so used to streaming into their Facebook groups. Some of them run Facebook groups that have 200, some have 2,000, 200,000. You get the point. So part of this and part of this push that I've made over the past 3, 4, 5 years to people is please, please, please make sure that when you are starting your communities, you think about what platforms that you're putting people on that you own. So if you don't own that platform, if you don't own Facebook, you don't own LinkedIn, this is just like us getting to rent real estate everywhere, then you have to work really hard to create that movement into your own community. Great example of this would be LinkedIn. For example, many people who have LinkedIn profiles, right? You have LinkedIn profiles, you have a LinkedIn profile, or you have a LinkedIn newsletter. You have built up a tremendous following on LinkedIn. You have your newsletter, and that's lovely, and people are following you. However, what happens, okay, when you need to share things and say the platform decides that they don't want to have that feature anymore? So let me break this down for you so you can see it in real time and identify exactly what I am speaking to. Because I think a lot of times people go, oh, well, that's okay. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And it's like, no, you're not going to do it later. So let me show you this in real time so you can get an idea of what I mean. So here is my LinkedIn profile. Here is my newsletter that I have here. And here are the 1,500 subscribers that have decided that they want to engage with me in this way. So a couple things that happen when we go through this process. What we do very specifically is we will come into, the profile. We now have a process for inviting these people to get extra resources and benefits if they subscribe on our platform. Now, little bit dangerous in how you word this, because remember, platforms want you to stay on that platform. So Facebook wants you to stay on Facebook. Instagram wants you to stay on Instagram. So when you make any decision that kind of again goes a little rogue, you want to make sure that that is what is happening and that's what's going on. So again, making sure that I'm being as clear as possible. When we are on a platform like LinkedIn, where you're growing this newsletter, oh my gosh, so great. And we need to move those people from that platform to your own. Now, there's a couple ways that you can do this specifically in LinkedIn. And if you've never done it, I'm going to walk you through how to do that right now. Now, I will tell you, you want to be very ethical and responsible about how you do this. So, first things first, you're going to go back to your profile. Okay. And you're going to see, again, there's my profile, yummy. And you're going to look at your followers and your connections. So again, there's a couple ways that you can do this. One, you can manually go through this, which seems like a lot and something I don't want to do. And or you can go into your settings and you have the ability to go in and pull out your contacts. So again, where you've got some syncing opportunity, you can also go into, I believe it's your preferences. Please hold. Please hold, your call is being connected. Contacts. And again, you can go in here and it works both ways, okay? You can sync your contacts into LinkedIn if you have people that you want to connect with. And at the same time, you can export those out. So why is that important? That's important because if they're subscribed to your LinkedIn and something ever happens to your LinkedIn account, you're not going to be able to access them. Same thing for things that I'm seeing in Facebook. So I have one woman that has 200,000 people in her Facebook group. Right now, what's happening is Facebook is suppressing some of that data. And so what happens is that she is unable, when she's going in to try to live stream, she can't into her group. She has to use the native stuff. And so that can be a little bit overwhelming if you're not used to being in a very specific like energy of figuring it out. Your energy can be frantic, it can be scary, it can be like, oh shit, what do I do? And I want you to think, anytime you start to get in that energy of like, oh no, how am I going to do this? It's not going to work, I'm not going to be able to do this, I'm not going to be able to, it's like, no, you can totally do it, number one. And number two, like, that frequency of no, I can't, no, I can't, no, I can't is such low frequency energy. Let's bring it up a notch. Let's think about, how do we create innovation in this time period? Subsequently, how do we also create a strategy where we're not dependent on a third party platform? Oh my goodness. So this brings me back to a little bit more of like looking at how you're structuring your businesses and your companies. And why does that matter? Well, it matters for a couple of reasons. Number one, when we are looking at how we build authentic connections in a virtual world, I can tell you honestly that I did a thing called 100 meetings, where I did 100 meetings in 100 days and I wrote blogs about all the people that I met. It was one way of doing that. The second thing I did was looking at, how do I connect with more people on a regular basis? And that's when I started and I decided to do Instagram and TikTok against the advice of everybody that I knew. Everybody that I knew said, this is not going to work. People aren't going to do this. People aren't going to do that. And to that, it's like, do you? I'm going to do me. And what I've learned as someone that is a business strategist, mind you, is that my audience is everywhere. They're not just on LinkedIn. They're not just on Facebook. They're not just on Instagram. They're not just on Snapchat. They're in places you wouldn't imagine. There are some people that I work with who have TikTok accounts that they don't follow really. They follow people. They never post anything, but they like going online. They like scrolling. They like seeing what's happening. And what they're starting to realize is, wait a minute, business professionals are on this platform. And it's like, no shit, right? So that's pretty awesome. What else, that we're seeing is that when you're trying to create thriving online communities and you're depending on a third party algorithm, even within people in their own Facebook groups, content is getting suppressed. Like, it might be red flagged. It might, like, there's all this stuff that comes up. Like, even when you're on TikTok and you're scrolling, there's pieces of content that'll say, what did you think of this video? Did you think this was appropriate for this platform? Now imagine that happening in your Facebook groups. And so if you're trying to build stuff or have discussions around health or wellness or fitness or things that are not conventionally known, immediately you need to think about, where can I be building my community? How do I do this in a way that's as effective as possible? And how do I start to move people over? So there's a couple ways you can do that. One, you incentivize people to move them over to that community. You give them a free pass or access to something so that they'll join the community. You're going to keep navigating. And what I mean by that is, you're going to navigate through noise. Noise is one of these things that drives everybody crazy, but it's out there. All the people telling you what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. Here's what I know. Everybody says they want to create a $97 recurring monthly program. No one has any idea of the amount of upkeep and management that takes. You're going to need a community manager. You're going to need a salesperson to go in there and seed different opportunities. And what I've noticed is that the best way, the most phenomenal way to connect with people authentically starts with you. It starts with following a hunch. I'll give you a great example. Last week, I met with someone, not normally, would never have been allowed on my calendar. I met them at an event that they came to. They were so eager and bright and just like inspired by something that I said or I did. And I just thought, this feels like a no-brainer to me. I'm going to give this person some time. And in fact, I gave them around an hour. And as meaningful and impactful as it was for them, it was really impactful for me, because it reminded me that, number one, we're not alone. And number two, when we connect authentically with people, magical things can happen. Now, when we look at personal and professional growth opportunities in this space, all kinds of ways you can do this. Number one, level point of entry, go to a library. Go to a library. If you find yourself being negative all the time, if you find yourself in shit energy, if you're just like, I don't want to work, I don't want to do this, part of it is this the right project for you? It may or may not be. Is this the right client for you? Is this the right partnership for you? And then really think about, what can I do to shift my energy? It is my responsibility to have good energy when I go into engagements, right? And so what I look at is, what are you consuming? What are you putting into your ecosystem? Are you consuming a lot of stuff that's just garbage? If so, tune that up. Let's tune into a new frequency. I think a client of mine always mentions that, he asks, people, it's like, do you hear country music in this room right now? And everybody always goes, no. And then it's like, yeah, it's playing. We're just not tuned into that frequency, which is totally true. So the same thing is happening. It's like, is abundance possible for you right now in your business and in your growth? Absolutely. Are you tuned into that right now? Or are you tuned into all of the things that aren't working? I have to give a really phenomenal example. Shout out to a colleague of mine, Ben and Leslie. We were having this conversation and we were both really shocked and surprised to hear that, there are Zoom consultants whose jobs are pretty simple in terms of starting meetings for people, and they're compensated 4 figures plus a month just to come in and set up Zoom meetings. And is that something anyone can do? Probably. But are people doing it? No. Why? Because they think it's hard, or it's this or it's that. It's not any of those things. It's here, right? So again, what are you doing to build authentic connections? Are you actually connecting with all these followers? Are you personalizing messages? Are you doing coffee chats? Are you just trying to figure out a way to bridge the gap between virtual and physical? What we've seen and what the data shows is that there's just a lot of people that are craving authentic connection. And I believe it is something that, oh my gosh, I have worked so hard to build. And I find that, for as hard as it was for me to build community and to find the right tribe of people, I think part of that came down to, how do I step into spaces where I don't know anybody? How do I make friends past a certain age? How do I open my horizons to something that's going to be super confronting? So I do want to extend a little bit of an invitation to you if you're catching this live. Part of it is I run a dope ass event in Miami with a bunch of colleagues. I love all of them. I'm going to put it into the comments of all of the chats. This particular event is all around growing personally and professionally. Whether you are an executive, whether you are a executive in a small business, whether you are a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, this event is for you. It is taking place in Miami, and it is called Breakthrough Mastermind. Some of you have heard me talk about Breakthrough. I always kind of think of it as just one of these really, really incredible places where I got to learn and grow. And you can preview the event. You can learn more about what we're doing. And again, there's a little video of our last experience in Sedona. There's some, comments from people here. We've got some really fun things. I encourage you to check it out. I know that some people find it, a little bit scary to come into a space where you don't know somebody. Totally valid. And what we do is we work really hard to bring people together to connect and collaborate and co-create in the room. And that's what's so phenomenal. I think a lot of people talk about, how do we thrive and how do we do everything is very aspirational. And while I enjoy all of that, I like to say, like, what's tactical? What can I do right now? Who can I be connecting with? Who can I get centered with? Who's going to help me do the thing that I've always wanted to do? And part of that starts with acknowledging where you are and where you want to be. And for a lot of people, it's just like that aha moment comes and you go, oh crap, like this is what I've been missing. So let me walk you through this process. So we've got obviously a form here you can fill out. We've got this really great approach of a hot seat. People get to come in, they get to experience, they get to ask the room for help. We meet 3 times a year, then we meet monthly on some of our groups. We have a WhatsApp channel. We do kind of bonus days and things. And here's the biggest part, like, it isn't for everyone. And as a matter of fact, like, some people, quite frankly, are just not going to be a fit. It is what it is. And part of that is no attitudes, no assholes. So if that's your vibe, nice knowing you. I'm not interested. And I know that that's in and of itself, saying that online is very like triggering for people, but it is what it is. So that being said, I encourage all of you to consider coming out, getting to know, get to know me more, get to know some of our people in the community. And if you're on your journey and you're trying to figure out how to harness everything to reach your audience and kind of impact, influence and income, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to do that. It starts with figuring out, what do you want and why are you here on this planet? I know that my gift is to help bring people from confusion to clarity. That's it. That's my job. Whether they're an entrepreneur or an executive, I know how to help create their messages. I know that I'm good with words and I can see the bigger picture. I understand and I recognize that not everyone has that ability. So what I would encourage you to think about doing is, first things first, get clear with who you are. Why are you alive? And if you don't know how, I can introduce you to tons of people that can do that work with you. I've done that work. It's been very meaningful and impactful for me in my journey. And subsequently, if you don't know who to work with, ask. The second thing you're going to want to think about is, how do I get that knowledge? Right? Maybe you weren't born in generational wealth. You have no idea what you should be doing. Just like, what's the difference between a financial advisor and a wealth manager and a family office and a RIA and a money man? Like, I don't know what that means. Spend some time learning. Instead of like trying to use Chat GPT as a get rich quick scheme, use it to ask questions. Help it, nurture it into helping you create a plan of attack for what you want to accomplish in the next 30 days. All of this is possible for you. And I just want to leave you with this. When you're navigating through the noise, you have to get really dialed in with who you are, who you want to be, how you want to show up, and who you want to connect with. And when you get really centered on that, and you can really start to see like, oh, this is why I'm here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. What you're going to find is your frequency that you're emitting to everyone around you is different. It's going to create different energy. Vibrationally, it's going to feel different, and you're going to create extreme momentum. So with that, that's all I've got for you today. Have a beautiful afternoon and enjoy your week. Bye.